On today's question of faith, someone came out to me. Now what do I do? Hey everybody, this is Question of Faith. I am Deacon Mike Hayes. I am the Director of Young Adult Ministry here in the Diocese of Cleveland.
And I'm Father Damian Ference, the Vicar for Evangelization.
And I'm Maria Wancata, Marriage and Family Ministry Specialist.
Hey, before we get started with our question, I wanted to tell us we've been talked about a little bit on the daily comedy podcast by my friend Johnny Mack, who all the Catholic comedians gathered at the Vatican the other day.
Yeah, I saw that.
He was like, "Hey, Deacon Mike, you got to get me to the Vatican. Call your boss. And so now he's been making fun of me for like the last 3 weeks. He's like, Deacon Mike didn't get it done. But it was fun. So shout out to the Daily Comedy Podcast. They do a nice job.
It was a cool visit. I did watch some of the clips. Seeing Jimmy Fallon talk to the Holy Father, seeing Conan O'Brien do an interview with EWTN, just great. I was very happy with all that. I think it's great too that so many of the late night comics, at least the ones that were there, are Catholic or at least raised Catholic. So it's cool.
Apparently, Whoopi Goldberg asked Pope Francis if he would do a cameo in Sister Act 3.
That's funny.
And Pope Francis did say, "I'm going to check my schedule and see what I can do." He said,
that's
but
funny.
they said that he seemed like he was into it though, so it was funny.
I saw too that after Chris Rock shook his hand, I think he got a rosary, and he gave him a little arm punch.
Yeah,
which is there you go. That was funny.
Okay, personal story about that.
Cool.
We were in
That's
Rome
right.
in
You were
Italy.
there. Yeah.
We flew home Saturday morning, and Chris Rock was on our flight home.
No kidding.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Phil said he made eye contact with him.
Oh, that's cool.
I used to see him in the street in New York every once in a while because I think he lived near Lincoln Center where I worked. But yeah.
That's like at a concert. I'm get close to the stage. Oh, the artist made eye contact with me. He saw me. Well, actually,
we had a moment.
This was not planned. But I think it's an excellent segue into our question. So, someone comes out to you as gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender, whatever the situation is. How do we respond? And we're asking this question. We know it's a sensitive topic on our podcast today because we've been asked to talk about this question. And so here we are. And when you talk about someone making eye contact with you, whether it's, a celebrity, Chris Rock, kids go to a Taylor Swift show or I saw Bruce Springsteen on Broadway. And 4 times during that show, I made eye contact with Bruce. I was in the 4th row. It was the second night of the show. And that meant a lot to me. Why does it mean so much when someone makes eye contact? Because by the fact that we are human beings, we want to be seen. Yeah. And we want to be understood. We want to be, a lot of times people say, we're seen, known, and loved, right? Those 3 things. So my initial contribution to this conversation is if someone comes out to you and lets you know where they stand, how they see things, their attractions, the first step is in seeing them as they are and coming to understand by listening to what their situation is and loving them right then and right there. That's where I would start. I'm sure we have a lot more to say, but I think remembering that every human being wants to be seen, known, and loved. And so when people can sense that is happening, that's a great gift and it's a great blessing and it's a great way to be a Christian.
Yeah, and I think in being seen is they're revealing something very vulnerable about themselves and their experience to you, and they've entrusted themselves to you in that moment, and your initial reaction, your body language more than anything is what they see right then and there, and it gives them all that they need to know in that exact moment. So in that initial encounter, they're just asking you to receive them fully as a human person and reverence them in that exact moment and show them love, showing them the love of Christ. And all you really have to do right there is listen. I don't even know that they're asking you to solve anything for them. They're just giving themselves to you.
And I like the image that you give of the revealing, because in Catholicism, mysteries are veiled often, and then the veil gets taken away for a bit. And so God is constantly revealing himself to us. And that's a sacred moment when there is a revelation. Someone's opening up, showing you something that you haven't seen before. And there's a reverence and a sacredness to that.
Yeah. I think, too, like, people have expectations, right? You know, that they might even expect that you're going to judge them for whatever it is that they're going to tell you. And so I like what Maria just said, is that your body language initially is the big thing, is that people see you kind of go back. Right. Then it's kind of all over, But
what if it is what if it's a surprise and you weren't expecting it? Because I'm sure a lot of listeners, maybe parents, are like, okay, I sat down, I thought you were going to tell me this, and you tell me that. So what if you flub the initial response?
Yeah, it happens. Then you backtrack a little bit, but
say, I'm sorry, I was taken back. And
right. Yeah, no, I didn't expect you to say that. That's a pretty obvious reaction.
Yeah,
but
and then just responding with curiosity and openness and questions, and just learning more, and setting the stage of, like, I love you, and I'm here for you, and I just want to learn more right now, and that's it. And it doesn't, in that initial moment, it doesn't have to go super, I don't want to say deep, but you're not there to solve a problem. Like, It's not a problem to be fixed right then and there.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think too. I think about how hard it must have been for the person to, one, not only tell you that they're in the LGBT community, right? Or I go the other way too, like how hard it must have been for them not to tell you. Mm-hmm. They're kind of withholding this information and not being who they really are. And the fact that they've trusted you with that information now is an honor to you in some way, because they trust you enough to reveal this about themselves, and they probably have a fear about it as well.
Right. So. Yeah. I think it's a lot of showing empathy and validation of being a human person, being created in the image and likeness of God, and that we all have different experiences throughout our lives that have brought us to that moment right then and there.
And I think that asking of questions is excellent. Like, how did you know that this is the case? What do you need from me now? Mm-hmm. Is there anything that I should know or I haven't asked, or what?
That's a great question. Mm-hmm. Is there anything I don't know that you think I should be asking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say too, because Maria in her office oversees our ministry to LGBT community, gay and lesbian parents. There's actually a variety of different ministries here. So one person may think different ways about identity. Like, we have folks who won't use LGBT and want to use same-sex attracted, and then just the opposite of that. So talking those things out reverentially is a really important act of charity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not assuming you told me this, all this must be true of you.
Right.
Or the other thing is, you've told me this, that must mean that you've been living a lifestyle, and that may not be the case either.
That's right.
And it also may be the case. You don't know. So I think the posture of listening is essential here.
Yeah, it's receiving the person right then and there, because as much as we've heard or thought or read about different things, that person right then and there is a unique individual with their own unique experiences in the world, and you're there right now to be with that person. So you have to listen to them and what they've gone through, and as hard as it may be, throw any preconceived notions or things that you've heard out the window right then and there.
And that's hard in general conversations when someone's talking, just to listen, to receive. And we all love being received. Like, yeah, to have a few friends when you're talking who are really understanding and listening to you, it's a great gift. And not think ahead, I'm going to say this next.
I'm curious, Father. We say, like, the posture is important. Does this happen to you in confession if someone tells you, like, something shocking?
I have a tendency not to talk about what goes on in the confessional at all.
Yeah.
But I'll speak very generally. Before I go into the box, I remember that I'm a sinner and like the Lord is rich in mercy and there's no sin that he can't forgive. And you're kind of ready for anything. And I think it really is a space of mercy where mercy reigns, that there can't be any judgment, because if a person's coming in here to receive mercy and they've had the courage to do this, how could it be any other way than the Lord is so pleased that you're here, you're in the right place, let's go, and the healing can begin. Because the devil's trick, like he's got a few tricks. One, he wants to make you think that you're all alone. Yes. 2, he wants to keep you in the dark. And 3, he doesn't want you to tell the truth about what you're going through and what your experiences are. Once you're able to realize that God is good, he can be trusted, that you can speak the truth, and that you can bring things to the light and show God, like, hey, here's where my heart is, here's where my life is, then he can come in and start doing his work and his healing work. And the word for salvation is the same word for healing, like a salve. And every single human being is in need of God's healing, mercy, and love in all aspects of our life. And sometimes we simply, carve out the, sexual morality, but it's our entire being that is constantly in need of redemption every time we come to Mass. I don't care if you're a daily Mass goer. Every time you're coming to Mass, you're a sinner in need of God's mercy. And that's true of everyone. And the sacrament of reconciliation is a place for that, certainly. But the sacrament of the Eucharist, Pope Francis reminds us, is also a sacrament of mercy. At Mass, we say, Lord, I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof, but only say the word and I shall be healed. And then he gives us his word. So, yes, I will speak generally that I think because I know my own weakness and my own fallenness and my own struggles, that like, who the heck am I to like say, oh my gosh, no, dude. It's like, thank you. You honor me with your honesty and your humility, and your striving to bring all this before the Lord, and one who is friends with the Lord and friends with you,
Yeah, but I think you said, touched on something there, Father Damian, was inviting Jesus into the moment as well. Because they're revealing, revealing something to you and trusting something to you, and that would be a very good time then to also encourage and point them to Christ and to deepen or go to wherever they are with God at that moment, to bring it to him as well.
Anything, so there's this great moment in the Mass, actually, Deacon Mike Hayes, now that you do this part of the Mass, do you remember the prayer when you pour the water into the wine as you prepare the chalice? I know you've only been a deacon a month.
Through the mingling of this water and wine, may we come to share in the divinity of Christ, who humbled himself to share in our humanity.
Okay, excellent. So that last part, why did God become human? Well, because he wanted to make us divine, and he did so by sharing in our humanity. So anything that is human, which means anything that we experience as men and women, he is interested in. He wants to know about it. And not just, hey, I prayed my prayers today, and I did this today, and I'm doing all these good deeds. Like, the Lord is so pleased when we do good deeds. But he did not come to change us from bad to good. He came to like turn death into life. Yeah, right. And so every single part of our life, he wants to be a part of it. So our intellectual life, our life of friendship, our life of work, our human sexuality, when we go out to dinner, like he wants to be so immingled, like that water and wine. So there's no part of us that he doesn't want to be a part of. And so I think encouraging that like basic spiritual principle, let's bring Jesus into this, because he loved like coming and healing people, whether it was, the deaf or the blind or the whatever, or feeding the hungry or the woman at the well. Like all of those people are us all the time. And we're constantly calling upon the Lord to come in and enter into our lives once again. And that's the journey of life. It's not, I've had my conversion, now I'm cool. No, dude, like every day I have to have a conversion because like I'm not good without it. And I'm not myself without it. And it's a friendship. Like our relationship with Jesus is a friendship, and it's not like you check off, I did good deeds and now, okay, I'm cool. No, like I'm sharing my life with you because you shared your whole life with me. And so at the end of the day, what we want is like God came to share his life with all of us. And wherever you are in life, he wants to share his life with you. And that's really great news.
Yeah. I think too, like when...
I just said dude twice, and I rarely say dude.
That's true.
I'm probably talking to myself here.
Say.
I'm probably talking to myself. Dude. I've been hanging around the Tolly Legate kids. That's why.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
These
Clearly.
teens all week.
Yes.
They've influenced me.
I was going to say that, Pope Francis reminds us of this as well, that we're called to become what it is that we receive, and therefore, we're supposed to stay in relationship with people. We're not supposed to just throw them away, and he reminds parents of gay folks that they shouldn't throw them out of their house.
That's right. So that's one of the reasons when I came into the secretary for parish life position and was assigned that by the bishop, that I wanted to find a place where we could put all our ministries, the special ministries, the Courage, LGBT, the parents of gay and lesbian, all those ministries. I thought the best place to put them would be in marriage and family, because Pope Francis has been very strong about, look, if someone comes out to you or you have a gay person in your family, the last thing you want to do is shun them from your family, because people need community. They need love, and they need to be known, and it needs to be known to them that they are seen, known, and loved. And so the last thing you want to do is cut off relationship. The same is true in prayer. Like, you may be really upset with God about something. Okay, that's where you are. Go read the Psalms. What do? You talk to God about why you're upset. And you don't break that relationship. The worst thing you could do is completely separate.
Right.
Because then you've broken the relationship. How can you evangelize anyone or share your faith with someone if you're not talking to them?
Right.
Yeah. And I think in what we've been talking about, we've been focusing a lot on like just that initial conversation. But it's a relationship that needs to continue to develop and grow and deepen. So first, in showering them with love and empathy and acceptance, they're then ongoing with that relationship is that balance of truth and love. But right there in that initial revelation, conversation, it's not hammering someone over the head with, well, the church teaches this. There's time for that kind of development as the relationship grows. And maybe you're not called to be the person to do that either, but that's where someone like our office, our parish groups, things like that can help and assist there.
Yeah, and if someone's coming out to you or saying, this is my experience, this is how I identify, chances are they probably know that you know what the church teaches, and they're not looking for, hey, did you know? No, what they're doing is they're saying, like, I'm coming to you because this is what I've been going through, and I'm wondering, well, do you love me? Do you understand? Are you willing to still be my friend, even though this may be the case? And you're like, yeah, I am. I'm here. I'm yours. It's cool. It's cool.
I often say we're always called to love people. Mm-hmm. No matter whatever, anything, right? Right. We're just called to love people. We're called, and in this case too, I think we're called to love people who have other things in their life, that they bring to us, and this is just one more.
Right. Yeah, today's gospel, actually, I haven't gone to Mass yet, but I prayed with the readings this morning, is loving your enemies. Even.
Oh, right.
And how hard is that? Like, oh well, those people over there have done this to us. Do you love them? You're supposed to. It doesn't mean you have to. Yeah, and that's a whole nother topic.
A whole other topic,
but it's true. Like the Lord, and what is love? You're willing the good of the other person. You want what is best for the other person, and to get in these spaces too. We've got a nice counsel that works with Maria, and there are parents who are part of this group who will admit that like the vulnerability that it took for their child to talk to them, and then the vulnerability to come back and live in that space where there may be some tension and disagreement over time, has transformed the hearts of the parents, and it's been beautiful and wonderful. So to be in that vulnerable space where you're open to what the Lord's doing, it can be a little scary, but also if you're grounded in your faith, you know that the Lord won't abandon you and he'll be with you in all that. So yeah, there's no reason to be afraid.
To be part of the journey is always good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good. Hope this was helpful to you listeners who asked us to discuss this.
Maria, if people have other questions about this and are looking for the resources of your office to help them with that, what would they need to do?
So the easiest way is going to our website, dioceseofcleveland.org/human sexuality, where I have different resources up there. Any of like the local ones or counselors, I ask that you reach out and I can help point you in the right direction. But church teaching, different videos, things like that are up on the website.
Cool. So diocesecleveland.org/human sexuality. We'll put that in the show notes. Hey, I was just on the phone with folks over at St. Clair's on the east
Lyndhurst.
side. Yeah. So I thought we would do them for this weekend. What do you know about St. Clair's?
I haven't been there in a while, but I think it's one of the longer aisles in the diocese. And I think at one point, if it's not the case still, there were a lot of weddings out there.
Of course there are.
A lot of Italian Americans attend that church because it's up from Murray Hill. And as the city was expanding, people would go from Little Italy, and then the next parish would be St. Clair, Santa Chiara. So, it's a nice place. So the pastor there is Father Stanley Klaczynski. He's been there for some time. And his parochial vicar is Father Joe Brancatelli, who's also the administrator down the street at Sacred Heart of Jesus in South Green. Yeah. It's a nice parish. If you'd ever been, check it out. I actually haven't been probably inside that church for some time, so I should go visit again.
Yeah, Theology on Tap East has really grown. It's been really great. The great Brad Jasko out there doing lots of good work.
That's excellent. I'm so glad we have Theology on Tap East, Theology on Tap West. There's so much going on with the young adult community. Thank you for directing it.
Of course.
I know we're going to go into there was no softball this weekend because it was Father's Day.
That's correct. So we're going to have no softball update this week. I know you're all crushed, especially Maria's husband who tunes in every week to just get the softball update and listens to the rest of the podcast. We have a little newsletter for the softball league now. That's so if you're in part of the league, you get a little newsletter with a little standings and update and things like that. But we'll be out at the Wonderful World of St. John Bosco in Parma Heights, starting at 12:30 this week.
Excellent.
Yeah, we play at 5.
And play at 5, yep.
And Mary Kate's on your team?
Yes, she is.
Mm.
And this is your first week because you had to bye the first week,
yes.
right? Because you guys were away.
Yeah, we have practice tonight, play on Sunday.
Oh,
nice.
There you go. Yeah.
What's the name of your team?
St. Joe's Vikings.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. Cool uniforms this year. You guys look a little like Minnesota, but not really.
Wow.
Vikings.
We kept the parish, the school colors. We got the logo. We're trying to be very official.
Yeah,
That's
looks
cool.
good. All right, so come on out and watch if you're in the neighborhood in Parma Heights. That'll be great. Readings for this week. I'm preaching this week. Are you preaching this week? You're usually
I'm preaching every weekend, yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I don't get to preach during the week often.
Oh,
I have
that's interesting.
usually one Mass in the cathedral. I can celebrate a lot. So it's super important for me to preach. It's a very important part of my spirituality.
Yeah,
so.
Same here for me, as even my early years as a deacon here. But I'll be at Sagrada Familia at the 10 o'clock this week. They're going to do a little Mass of Thanksgiving for me this week.
Bueno.
Sí, gracias.
Oh, while we're talking about that, actually, isn't Father Capot coming out for a Mass? He's got the vigil at La Sagrada.
Yes, it's Saturday.
And then he's got the noon Mass at St. Michael the Archangel. So if you have not seen this guy, we'll link him in the show notes. He's a bodybuilding priest from the Archdiocese of Miami, and he'll be in town this weekend because on Monday we have the ballpark Mass at Canal Park. That's where the Rubber Ducks play, 7 p.m., bilingual, Eucharistic procession then to St. Bernard Church for an Exalt. And you're welcome to come. Register. It would be helpful to know that you're coming, but if you don't register, you can still come anyway. So that's happening.
Yes, he's a great preacher. He renewed the vows of Paul Jarzembowski, my buddy from the Bishops' Conference, at their parish in Chicago, where they got married. So it was great.
And as I've said before, his biceps are the size of my torso.
Pretty much, yeah. Mm-hmm. They might be the size of my torso, which is saying something.
There you go.
So readings this week, calming of the storms. Can the Lord calm the storms in our life? Is always a question.
Well, first reading, Job.
Where were you?
So if you've never seen the movie, is it Tree of Life? Is that the guy who who did it? Terrence Malick. It's with Jessica Chastain and Brad Pitt, and there's a wonderful scene in there. It's 20 minutes long.
Wow.
And it's a scene of creation, and there's quotes from Job in there, like, "Where were you? You think you don't think I understand what's going on in your life? I am so much bigger, greater, wiser than anything you know. I've got you. Calm down. Like, I am here. I'm here in the storm. I have you." And sometimes we get so caught up in our own storms and our own business that we think God can't possibly be here. He can't do anything for me. When in fact, he's there. He knows the storm. He creates all this. Like, it's him. So he's there. I'll probably preach on that. We'll see.
Yep.
It's only Tuesday.
Exactly. All right. So we're all set for readings for this week. And Maria, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
This has been Question of Faith. I am Deacon Mike Hayes.
I'm Father Damian Ference.
Maria Wancata.
And we'll see you all again next time.